Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, this is one of those things where all statute of limitations have expired. The original transfer form 4473 probably doesn't exist anymore since more than 20 years have elapsed since when the original purchaser purchased it. We're the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about a new ATF form, whether you should give damning evidence to your lawyer, maybe in a self-defense case, and a hypothetical about an illegal gift of a gun, and what does it mean today? Again, hypothetical. Before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And if you're not already, join us over at armedattorneys.com. Join the Armed Attorneys Insider newsletter. Email address, state, just so we know where you're at. Don't collect anything else. Send those out pretty infrequently. We don't spam folks. Join us. We can't get censored there. We appreciate your support. And today we have your questions. We're going to give you some answers. These are our favorite episodes. If you have a question, type it out in the comment section. It helps if you type out question. We find those things faster. And maybe one of your questions will be featured in a future episode, but we'll kick things off with, this is No Name, ILTPW. Question: if I have or know there is evidence that is damning to my case, if I give it to my lawyer, can they admit it to the court so it cannot be used against me? This may have happened in a famous case, OJ, paper bag given to the judge, may have had the murder weapon. I think we should... I'm going to change the facts just a little bit. We're going to simplify it. I don't know about giving damning evidence to the court. So I'm going to jump away from that. Just talking about giving damning evidence to your lawyer.
Yes. Well, first of all, I have never, ever heard of my ability to submit damning evidence to the court.
Yeah, usually the lawyer not supposed to incriminate you.
No. Now,
general rule.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of arguments pre-trial about information everybody already has. And we will argue to the court that the prosecution should be limited from bringing up that information until and unless you have suppression hearings. That's great. That all happens pre-trial. So if evidence was illegally obtained, you have it, a motion to suppress, you have it heard, a judge makes a decision. And then before trial, you have a motion in limine. And you have all of this information, and essentially if the judge rules in your favor on a motion in limine, you say, okay, neither party is allowed to bring this thing up until they approach the bench, and at that time the bench makes a decision about whether or not it is admissible. I've never heard about this, but also do not give me damning evidence. Don't do it. Be honest with me. Always tell me every tiny bad thing you think happened, every place where you messed up. Total, complete honesty, because that is how I can best defend you. But do not hand me that smoking gun.
No, not a good idea. And there are some states have reciprocal discovery. Texas doesn't have that. That's one thing. Also, lawyers aren't going to say, yeah, sign me up for a crime. If it's contraband, you got your kilo of cocaine, I'm not going to take that.
No.
Hard drives with God knows what on it. Yep, I'm not taking any of that stuff. I'm not going to help conceal, because that could be evidence tampering. The lawyer's not going to incriminate themselves.
Well, yes, and there are often ethical rules state by state that prevent lawyers from holding on to things like that. So, no, keep that to yourself, but give me all your honesty.
Yep.
Okay, now we have at Coffee for My Taver. All right, question form 5320.20s. What's the correct current process for transporting NFA items across state lines and the proper ATF forms, please and thank you.
Yeah, so if you have an NFA item, so short-barreled shotgun, short-barreled rifle, suppressors, AOWs, machine guns maybe even, theoretically, when you're crossing state lines, with the exception of the temporary transportation of suppressors, you have to let the ATF know. And this is the ATF Form 5320.20. And this is the application to transport firearms. You use this when you're crossing state lines with one of these items temporarily, everything except suppressors. And then if you're changing the permanent location where the NFA item is kept, including suppressors, you're going to fill out these forms, you're going to submit it to the ATF, you're going to get their approval, and then, hey, travel away. Assuming this is the federal government's approval, they're not going to say, hey, warning, you can't have this item in this state, so just obviously be aware of your state's law. Fun fact, the 5320.20 now available as an eForm. You can do it online much faster. We'll link that in the description below if you wanted to go check that out. But they've made that process a lot more simple. I've had problems with clients in the past. They send this off to the ATF. Theoretically, you're supposed to get a response from the ATF before you can transport these things. These responses come so far in advance. It's like, oh, you knew you were going to go to the state a year ago? No, nobody knew. So eForm, check that out. All right, Emily, this one is for you. This is Robert Thornton, 1171. I can't get an LTC in Texas because of a deferred adjudication. Could I get an out-of-state resident LTC from a state that is less hostile to deferred adjudications? Would that be okay here? That's a good question.
I'm so glad you asked. It's an excellent question. Yes, Texas is stupid. Stupid. We treat deferred adjudication as a conviction, meaning if you take a deferred adjudication, you have to wait the allotted time that you would have if you had taken a conviction, or if it was deferred on any, essentially what they would consider a person felony, something that was particularly violent, which frankly doesn't always mean super violent, but it happens. Like you get deferred for ag assault for a self-defense incident. Happens all the time. Well, that's forever disqualifying for your LTC. You're 19 years old and you guys go into a home that you think is abandoned because you're messing around and you get popped for burg cap. That's a forever penalty in Texas. So unfortunately, I wish we would change this law. I want us to change this law every legislative session. No one has any appetite for it. But the state of Florida has no such hangups. And Texas does recognize a Florida license fully. So any Texan can go get a Florida non-resident license. And I say go, I don't mean go. The reason why they're so appealing is you take an NRA basic pistol and you do the Florida class, which we offer here in Texas. You pass. Very, very easy to get a Florida license right here from the great state. And then, yes, it is fully recognized. The only way in which it is not a Texas license would be for the purposes of school zones.
Yeah, or firearms transfers.
Firearms transfers
can't be a substitute to the background check. But apart from that, the vast majority of states recognize licenses issued by other states. So we have a Texan with a Florida license. Yeah, and the Florida license, my understanding, it doesn't say non-resident on it. It just says Florida license. But if it had, you got your Texas driver's license and a Florida whatever, I mean, they'll put two and two together. All right.
Okay, we have at Gold Leader question. Can I put a pistol grip and a pistol brace on a Mossberg 590 Shockwave 12 gauge since the Shockwave is not a short barrel shotgun?
All right, so we got the Mossberg Shockwave, cool gun. They make those in Texas. Don't modify those things. So this falls into a bizarre category because it's not considered a handgun, not considered a short barreled shotgun. It's a firearm. Anytime you're putting an accessory on one of these guns that slips through the cracks, you might have a problem. I would keep it stocked the way it is from the manufacturer. There are going to be some potential issues there. Do I think you're going to have any problems under Texas law? No problems there. But federal law, there is some ambiguity here. Is it getting transformed into an AOW is what we're looking at.
Right.
Because it's concealable. It's under that 26-inch threshold. Not designed to be fired with one hand, so it doesn't fit into that handgun category. So you see, there's a lot of problems here,
and not designed to be fired from the shoulder. I mean,
and not designed to be fired from the shoulder. So
we do not have case law that says this is what you're going to get charged with if you mess with it.
Right.
But as an office of lawyers, we've sat down and decided that the cautious legal advice is you very well could create an AOW from your Shockwave if you replace that bird's head grip. So the advice would be,
that's conservative advice.
Do it or be the test case.
Yeah.
So.
All right, the next question is from Klabuda Unpronounceable. Question: a guy's wife has a pistol. He finds out that it was gifted to her 35 plus years ago by a friend who lived in a neighboring state. The gifter no longer exists. Could this be a problem for the guy or his wife?
Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, this is one of those things where all statute of limitations have expired. The original transfer form 4473 probably doesn't exist anymore since more than 20 years have elapsed since when the original purchaser purchased it. You shouldn't be transferring firearms to residents of other states without going through a federal firearms license dealer. But that's not a good idea. Good hypothetical.
Don't ever tell anyone. Don't ever tell, I got this gun illegally across state lines. No, so you're fine. Again, nobody talks. Everybody walks. So just don't. No, the answer is don't do this thing. But if it was done 35 years ago and the guy who did it is dead, you're fine.
Yeah, at this point. But these are some good questions. We hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And as always, question and comment below. Leave us those questions with the word question so that we can talk to you directly on our next episode. Until next time, we're the Arms Attorneys.